made a decision to take the life of Ryan Martin and to shoot Sam Gomez.
You're hearing from the prosecutor seeking to convict a man accused of murder during a road rage incident in downtown Portland. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm China Green. Opening statements in the retrial of this case started just 2 hours ago, and this comes after December mistrial when the jury couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. Security cameras show Portland Uber driver Jeffrey Hammond pulled over on the side of the road in downtown Portland while waiting for a fare in October of 2023. His car stuck out slightly into a lane of traffic. A truck driver passed Hammond's car, and after a confrontation, Hammond is accused of shooting and killing that truck driver. Hammond also shot and injured another man who was recording the scene with his phone. Hammond turned himself into police and claimed self-defense, saying that Martin threatened him. A clip of police interrogating Hammond was displayed at today's trial.
Why do you have to continue to try to shoot him?
I was just like in the moment. Nothing. It was just like it was just like reacting. I wasn't really thinking about it.
We will have a full recap of the first day of the retrial coming up in our evening newscast. You can also read more about the case on KGW.com. A look at some local headlines this afternoon. Police say a car hit and killed a pedestrian in North Portland late last night. When officers arrived at North Going Street and Port Center Way just before 10:30 last night, they say the person who was hit was already dead. The driver stayed on the scene and is cooperating with police. The former principal of St. Helens High School, who had been on administrative leave, has resigned amid a teacher sex abuse investigation. Katie Wagner is accused of failing to protect students from two teachers at the high school who are facing sex abuse charges. She's pleaded not guilty to mistreatment and misconduct charges. In a letter to families, the district says that it will begin searching for a new principal. And voters in 23 counties in Washington, including Clark County, have until 8 p.m. tonight to cast their ballots in today's special election. If you're mailing a ballot, it has to be postmarked by today. You can also check your ballot status by texting the word vote to 868-392. A first-of-its-kind sports performance facility focused on female athletes is one step closer to reality in Oregon. This morning, Governor Tina Kotek, Senator Ron Wyden, and team owners showed up for a groundbreaking at the new Timbers and Women's WNBA facility in Hillsborough. The owners of the WNBA team are spending more than $150 million to build this facility that should open next spring. And the governor said the center represents forward thinking that defines Oregon by reimagining what is possible for women's sports. Young female athletes were on hand for a soccer and basketball clinic today. And Thorn star Morgan Weaver says the teams are excited to have its own practice facility.
Having something of our own, which is really exciting because Providence Park is obviously shared with the Timbers. There's concerts there, sometimes football games, so we have to completely move out of our stadium. And we're not allowed to be training there, so we don't have to do that anymore.
As for the name for the WNBA team, I know you want to know. Well, one of the co-owners told us that announcement is about 3 months out. Headed over to Rod Hill for a look at weather. I know you want to know what it's called.
Well, do you think they know, but they're just kind of holding back the information?
I feel like they know, but they're designing the logo right now, and it has to be like the full thing before they release it.
All right. Personally, you could tell me. We'll figure out the logo later. Here's a look at the Schnuckwins Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. The big story after we got through the chillier start we had this morning. Now the big story is simply the sun. Not a big warm up, but pretty nice outside. Temperatures at the beach, 50 in Lincoln City right now. And you folks will hold in the 50s today. The wind is northwest at 12 miles per hour. Here's the way it looks from wine country, the Chehalem Tasting Room camera down in Sherwood. Not perfectly clear, but mainly sunny and 53 degrees. It is pretty much perfectly clear over downtown. We have a northwest wind of 5 and our temperature is at 56 degrees. So everybody's warmed up into the 50s. I mean, Battleground, you were down to 31 this morning. You are now up to 55, so that's a nice warm up. It's still only 46 on the thermometer out in Silverton. I have today's high temperature 4 o'clock at 65 degrees. The sunshine continues. We'll check out those lows we had this morning and tracking our chance of rain coming in Thursday night. That's up in my complete forecast.
Thank you, Rod. The world continues to honor the life and legacy of Pope Francis, who died yesterday at the age of 88. The Pope's coffin is set to be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow for a public funeral. On Saturday, the body of Pope Francis was displayed for the first time in our ceremony right there. Bells rang at the University of Portland campus yesterday as people showed up at the chapel to remember Pope Francis.
He really cared. You know, he wasn't afraid to pick up a baby and kiss him. He wasn't afraid to touch people. He wasn't afraid to comfort somebody.
He would want politics to back up a little bit, look at the human lives involved, and make choices based on that for the thriving of the human individual.
A reminder that you can find more of our coverage about his life and tenure right now on our TV app, KGW+. Remembering Pope Francis and tributes to honor Pope Francis are both available on demand anytime. Developing now in the latest move from the Trump administration, millions of people who have fallen behind on student loan payments must now start repaying them or face a debt collector. Catherine Cook talks to students about how this will impact them.
It's a little scary.
At PSU and college campuses nationwide,
it's just really hard for people.
A new financial reality is hitting students like a ton of textbooks.
I am in the back of my head thinking, what am I going to do with this new debt when I'm out of here?
On Monday, the Trump administration announced that starting May 5th, the Education Department will start collecting on student loans in default, to include garnishing wages. It's a first since the government paused loan collection efforts in 2020. Officials say right now about 5.3 million federal student loans are in default. To that, Education Secretary Linda McMahon said, quote, American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies.
I'm very, very concerned about this latest step that they're taking.
For several years, U.S. Representative Suzanne Bonamici has been hosting student loan forgiveness webinars, hoping to help students struggling financially. She says her experience paints a different picture of students navigating college debt.
Most people are trying to pay back their student loans. They are. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go to college and get a free ride. That's not what's happening. And this administration doesn't understand that because, as I said, they're out of touch.
Everybody I know who's in school right now is working multiple jobs on top of school to make it work, just baseline.
The Education Department urged borrowers in default to do one of three things: contact the default resolution group to make a monthly payment, enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, or sign up for loan rehabilitation. McMahon criticized colleges and universities that have profited off federal subsidy loans while hiking tuition rates. At least one concern rooted in common political ground.
We have to make higher education more affordable.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Meanwhile, a federal judge in Eugene has ordered the Trump administration to restore the visas of 2 international students studying in Oregon. And according to the Oregonian, the judge asked federal lawyers what regulations they used to justify the terminations. The federal lawyer said that they didn't have time to gather that information. The judge's decision today blocks the students' deportations for 2 weeks while their status is restored.
We're just as curious as the government is about why this happened and how the government can fix it. And so we appreciate the judge standing up for these students and restoring the status quo for this 14-day period so we can get more information and help them vindicate their rights.
Attorneys for the students say that they'll now seek a preliminary injunction, which they say will provide more lasting protection. Now to the tragic crash in Southern Oregon that killed a softball coach and a freshman player. Officials say Jamie Strins, the coach, was driving her team back to Roseburg when another driver crossed the dividing lines and slammed into their bus. Jamie's sister said that she poured her heart into building the softball program at Umpqua Community College. And even in her final moments, her sister says that she was trying to comfort others.
It was obviously hard to believe, still is. But I had heard even in her last few moments, she was trying to console someone else when she was the one that didn't make it. And it's who she was. She passed away Friday, and then Sunday morning, Easter morning, I get a package for my daughters. I have 2 daughters from her for Easter, and she was just so thoughtful.
According to court records, the driver of the car that hit the team's bus has previous convictions for driving while suspended, speeding, and driving uninsured.